definitely going to regret that sip of coffee at 6 p.m. at night. But things we do for short-term gratification, which, speaking of, is the topic of today's video. And if you have not been bombarded with Black Friday sale notifications, promotions in your inbox, in real life, on posters, whatever, then what are you doing? What's your secret? I have seen so much of it lately that I'm sick of it, honestly. And instead of it prompting and making me want to buy things, it makes me want to shun consumerism altogether. It actually reminded me of this quote when I was out and about looking at the frenzy of people shopping in the sales. And it is this quote that I love and that I constantly say to myself to prevent me from buying things that I don't necessarily need. It is this: you will spend money you don't have buying things you don't need, trying to impress people you do not like. I've spoken about this before, and as a maximalist, trying to reevaluate their relationship with material objects and things, it is a journey. It is not something that happens instantaneously. I didn't wake up one day and say, I no longer want to buy a thing. However, it is a process that I am learning to be very patient with, and I'm somewhat learning to love. It is reminding me of the value of things that you can't buy instantly, of being able to kind of tap into this part of myself that I think I've neglected for a long time, which is my sense of peace. What I will speak to when it comes to buying things and to consumerism in general is that so often, as the quote suggests, we're trying to use these things externally to protect ourselves, to armor ourselves. And I can speak to this very well because I was that person that would use their paycheck the very second I got it at 18 to buy a new dress for an 18th, to buy something to wear to a music festival, to buy new outfits for my Euro summer at 21. It was just this perpetual patterning of constantly feeling like I needed to keep up appearances. It wasn't until I feel much later when I reflected on this that I could see the reason behind it. It wasn't that I wanted to necessarily look the best or anything like that. I always have genuinely loved fashion. It was more that because I was such a sensitive and am such a sensitive person that I didn't want to be judged. I've always just wanted to feel like I fit in, and I also just didn't want to stand out too much. So it was a lot easier to just buy something new, to feel like I look like everyone else, and to sort of silence that sense of anxiety that I would feel. You don't know what you don't know. So it was just a lot easier to silence that anxiety that I had and that would come up by buying these things that I felt would make me fit in and feel like I was blending into my environment in whatever way that I needed at the time. And I guess my biggest learnings throughout my 20s and even a little bit into my 30s, if I'm being completely honest, is that you come to just form a sense of self and a set of values in correlation with that are so much deeper than anything you can buy. The thing is, we just don't realize what matters sometimes until we take a moment to step back and to strip back. What I mean by that is that this sense of armoring that we have in the form of clothes and in the form of, keeping up with people around us, whether that be on social media or in real life, what comes with that is a kind of identity that isn't our truest selves. It's just a version of who we'd like to be. And when you take a step back and ask yourself, who am I without all of these like shiny, pretty things? You realize it is more the way that you interact with people, the way you make people feel, the way that you adjust yourself in like the purest of ways and in the purest of forms, that leaves more of a lasting impact compared to purely the fact that you're wearing the latest trend or the latest whatever it is item that you've seen on TikTok. Like I will keep continuing to reiterate, this process of, stripping away the armor and not feeling the need to protect yourself with things takes time. We are conditioned as a society to get that instant gratification and that instant sense of dopamine quickly. We don't want to have to wait. We don't want to have to sit on it. If it's there and we can get it at whatever cost, a lot of us will do it right then and there, even if that means being in debt, even if that means maxing out your credit card, even if that means living a life that you can't technically afford. As long as it looks good from the outset, then what does it really matter? There is so much peace, though, to be found, and this is something that I'm learning so quickly about myself, despite the fact that I just said none of this comes easily. What I value and this sense of peace that I've come to have as a 30-something, it's grounded in stability, and what I value is the fact that I don't need all this stuff to feel like I'm valuable. I know that I'm worthy regardless of what it is that I look like. I know that I'm abundant regardless of if I have whatever lip oil is trending at that point in time, of if I have a certain bag or a certain kind of sneaker. I really believe that when you take a step back and you don't allow yourself to be so enmeshed in it, you can appreciate it. You really can. You can walk through the stores, you can look at pretty things, but just no longer feel like quite under the thumb of it all. And I guess that's like my biggest point, and why I felt it was so important to say during this time of the year, is that rather than trying to control other people's perception of you, you can spend your time in a much more cost-effective way and a much more valuable way by leaning into what is it that actually makes you feel at peace within yourself. Hopefully, and I would love if you could find this within yourself. It won't have anything to do with the external. It won't be anything that you can click and collect. It is something that you find over time and in your own way, and that will have its own sense of meaning for you personally. So in a nutshell, and I just want to make this short and concise because we all have short attention spans, just take a moment during this crazy time of the year and reflect on why it is you feel you need that thing, and on a deeper level, why it is that you have these urges. What is this gap that you need to fill in your life, and how could you better fill it with things that aren't necessarily material? So many of us at the moment, I really feel like this is such an important turning point in the sense of people realizing the way they actually want to live their lives. So much of it is around turning away from this sense of instant gratification and of being controlled by things externally. And I feel like the more that we can ask these important and necessary questions, the more we can take control back of our day-to-day. And more importantly, we can protect our peace. You deserve that feeling. Like, please don't ever forget. Rather than have that anxiety come up time and time again that you feel like you constantly need to quell and satisfy with purchasing things, you can just know that inherently you are worthy of being at peace regardless of what it is that you look like or what clothes you are wearing. That's like the biggest thing I can impart is to feed into your sense of self-worth as opposed to feeding this beast. Have a think, reflect, maybe refrain if you can from purchasing things that you don't need during this time of the year, and go out for a walk with your friend, pick up the phone, invest in moments, in memories, and all those cliches that you'll see talked about time and time again. That's the good stuff. That's where the real value is in life. It's in experience and not in overconsumption. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, until I have another reflection about something. Until then, just know, regardless of if I'm speaking to you outwardly, you are the best person and the most well-equipped to decide for yourself, to choose for yourself, to know yourself. That is your mati. That's it. Thanks so much.